Okay, so I'm gonna walk through how I would edit some of these photos from the underwater workshop I had earlier this summer. I haven't edited any of these yet, so I'll be going through these for the very first time as well. And I've picked out some photos here that I think will be good examples on editing underwater in different scenarios. So we can start with one of these. Let's do this close-up one first. So just to look at this photo, this was ISO 100, 1/125 f5 at 16 millimeters and auto white balance. I know white balance can be a little bit controversial in shooting auto, but I feel like the modern cameras nowadays are pretty good at picking up the correct white balance. Underwater can still be a little bit tricky, but I still think auto white balance is a good starting point. But either way, you can fix a lot of that here in editing. So right now I'm using Capture One, and the very first thing I like to do is try to get a good base for our color, and we do that by fixing the white balance right here. Using the eyedropper tool, I will look for something that is white, so maybe her clock right here. Sometimes you can do her eye, but I see this pool filter. That for sure should be white, so we can click on that here. And that's a little bit too magenta-y, a little bit too warm. Maybe I can try this. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So just right away, before, after. So yeah, this is a good starting point. Another thing I like to do too is just really bring up the saturation, so you can see what colors are being affected. I'm not gonna keep it at 100%. This is more so that we can see what colors are being affected when we adjust the white balance. So you can see right here we have some yellows and greens. Of course, her skin tones are reds, oranges. So now we can do some finer adjustments. Maybe we can bring this down a little bit. There we go. And then I can go to this one. Now this can be a little tricky. I'm in the color editor under the green hues. Normally I like to push this more towards yellow, but what this may do is, especially when you have things like plants, it will affect their hues as well. So I'll do this later in a different mask, but for now we'll just globally adjust color. Looks pretty good. Now let's tone it down. Of course, like I said, we don't want 100%. This is default, maybe around, yeah, this might be good. The reason why you have to bump up saturation so much is because when you're underwater, a lot of light is lost, so in turn, saturation is also lost, especially for this one, because it was overcast when we took this photo compared to maybe like this photo when there's a little bit more sun. So we'll have to bump up the saturation a lot more in a photo like this one. All right. So still probably a little warm for me, so I'll push this down a little bit. You can also check your histogram here. So now after color, what I like to do is exposure. So checking out the histogram, it's pretty decent, honestly. I'll push it more to the right a little bit, and I like to do that with curves or levels here. Oh, and by the way, you want to make sure your base characteristics are on Pro Standard if you have it. Generally, auto can be okay. Sometimes I also like film standard or linear depending on the photo. For this one, I'll probably do film standard. Make sure you do that first before you make all these other adjustments. I should have done that at the very beginning, but right here is still okay to introduce that. Here, you can, checking out her hair right here, I can probably bring back some of those details by lifting the blacks, or if you don't like that, you want to emphasize on her face, then you can really crush them like that. It's up to you, up to your personal preference. I'll probably go somewhere in between. Here is probably good. Going back to the levels to fix exposure. It's good. Okay. So curves is a really powerful tool that I like to use a lot. Instead of using the contrast slider under exposure to affect contrast, I like to do it in the curves adjustment instead, because you get more control. You can do some variation of an S curve like this one. I like to lift the ends a little bit to give it a little bit softer, ethereal look. So by holding Option and clicking this button right here, you can see the before and after. So let's see what we've done so far. This is the original. This is what we have so far. It's still a little bit too orangey, I would say, on her skin, but we'll fix that in just a little bit. Right here in the color editor, if you boost it all the way to 100, you can see her skin tones are really orange. So you can either do it here by bringing this down, or another thing I like to do is under the skin tones right here, click this one, click this dropper tool, zoom into like a midpoint of her skin tones, somewhere here, and you really wanted to focus it down. And now you can adjust the saturation. So you go to 0, this is what it looks like. Boost it all up, it looks like this. So tone it down a little bit, makes it a little bit more natural. There you go. And again, Option click, before, after, before, after. Okay. And say you don't like the color of the water in the background. Right here is where you can adjust it. So you can see all the blues right here, all the teal right here. So let's adjust the hue. You can make it less saturated if you would like. Push it more this way or this way, just up to personal preference. I want to make her dress pop a little bit more, so still under the color editor, I'm going to increase the lightness a little bit. There you go. Perfect. Okay, now there are still some bluish greenish tints right here in the shadow side. So what you can do is under these layers and masks, hit people. It's going to auto generate a people's mask. So hit M, and you can see the mask get created. It's pretty good. So what I can do now is under the white balance, I'm going to adjust the temperature. See if I push it here, now it's only affecting the mask, right? I can push it a little bit to the warm side, make it a little bit more magenta-y. Here, remember what I was talking earlier about changing the green hues and affecting the flowers? Well, now that I have the mask selected, I can affect only the elements within the mask. So going back here, I can change this. See that? Makes it a little bit more natural to her skin tone. Same with the yellows. I'll push it more this way. There you go. She's still a little bit too orange for my liking right here. I mean, that it's also a reflection of her dress, making her a little bit more orange as well, because her skin tones up here look pretty good. So what we can do is we can create another mask right here, and using the brush, you can brush it in, hit M so you can see what you're brushing. Okay, and now we can push it to the warmer side, or cooler side. Look at that, see? A bit more green. See, before, after. It's a little subtle difference, but it's nice. This down a little bit, there we go. Okay. Just remember to move this back to the image layer if you want to do global adjustments. Pretty good. Another detail too is this isn't the shadow side, so it's going to be a little bit more blue or on the cool side. But what I like to do is I'll create another layer mask and I'll select her arm, get the fingers too, and now what I can do is make them a little bit warmer. Just a little bit. Okay. So before, after. Cool. And then we see this is the original. After. After looking at the overall photo, I feel like she's still maybe a little bit too saturated for my liking. So we can bring down the overall saturation here as well. Let's introduce some more contrast. Yep, it's a pretty good starting point. From here, I would go into Photoshop and do some more fine tuning, such as removing stuff like this here, this pool tiles, this right here, do some skin corrections, any other imperfections that I see. But yeah, so from here, what you can do is you can copy the adjustments, go to another similar photo and paste it. So this one is not going to be a perfect one-to-one copy for the adjustments, because in this photo we're a little bit closer versus this one a little bit further away, and the lighting changed a little bit, but we can still copy those adjustments as a good starting point. So we copied, and now we can paste right here. Let's can copy adjustments. So just be aware that when you make those copies, it's also going to copy all these layers here that you may or may not want, so just be aware of that. This one is actually okay because it's copying over the people mask for this one, and you can see it didn't get it all the way. So what you can do is just add to the mask like that. There you go. And these were more specific brush strokes that we don't want, so we can remove these. But yeah, it's a good starting point. As you can see, this is the before and after. And yeah, so from here I'll just go through and make adjustments wherever I need, such as I think the saturation is a little high for this one because it's a little brighter. She looks a little too warm, but I like the blue in the background for the pool, so I can go here, tone her down a bit like that. Looks good. Another one I like is the backgrounds layer. Hit M to see. I can probably add more to the background right here. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to do this right now, but I will use a brush and brush this in for the background. But from here, what I like to do too is lower the brightness. By lowering the brightness of the background, I make the model, which is our subject, pop out more. Perfect. I'm going to go back to the layer adjustment layer, or the image layer. Some adjustments here. I don't like the greens in the background right here, so I'm going to go back to the background mask and then adjust the greens here. This way it makes it more yellow, this way it makes them more blue. That looks better to me. There you go. And yeah, and so just in quick minute or so, we went from here to here by copying over the adjustments from the previous photo to this one. Cool. If this was helpful, please let me know, and if you have any other questions on my process or any questions on further steps or anything else relating to editing, please let me know. All right, see you in the next one.